Today we are going to do another interview as part of our accreditation series with new and recent DMI partners. So my name is Paul Munns. I work at the Digital Marketing Institute, and I'm now going to introduce Kardi Somerfield from the University of Northampton, who's going to be the latest academic leader to talk to us. So we always like to get things started. Kardi, maybe tell everyone a little bit about yourself first and foremost, and then onto the University of Northampton as well.
Okay, so I am a program leader. I lead a course called Advertising and Digital Marketing, which is in the Faculty of Business and Law. I joined the university about 11 years ago now. I came from business, so I was working in marketing, and actually I'd started to mostly I'm a loyalty marketing specialist, but I had started to work in digital. I think with pretty much anybody, even back then, who was working in marketing was starting to do a lot more digital work. Although it wasn't the kind of main thing I was doing when I joined the university, it's just become a real passion of mine. I'm an avid sort of user of social media. I've run quite a few different websites or community websites. I've got my own business that I run on a website. Sort of quite passionate that we should be practicing what we preach. So I'm sort of quite hands-on, and actually that's quite a lot of the way I teach as well. So I've always been interested in trying to make as much of a real life experience for the students as I can. So over time, I've kind of gone from teaching marketing and advertising to specializing more and more in digital marketing. So that's the main curriculum. We've got a modular framework at our university. So I teach on 4 different digital marketing modules, and I look after the curriculum for it. And also I'm halfway through a doctorate at the moment, and social media marketing is my research field. So it's kind of the most exciting bit of
Yeah,
marketing, is, in my opinion, to be
yeah.
working in right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's good that you've maintained sort of some private industry or industry sort of applications. Do you find that helps bring what you're learning
Oh,
running some
massively. I
yeah.
mean, there are 2 things that are really important for me. There's first of all the actual practical skill, and not even I mean, some of it is just nobody can know all the things. And that is almost the first thing you need to know. Anything we teach students, there will always be another platform, there'll always be another language, there'll always be another application. But learning all the time, it's sort of learning to learn is almost the biggest thing. So literally taught myself Photoshop using online learning out, because I wanted to know how to do it, and that's been tremendously valuable. And actually running an e-commerce site, actually I was running an offline business, and through COVID, actually, I flipped it to an online business, and that's brilliant because now, in the classroom, I want to share the excitement of doing a social media post and watching the tills ring,
Yeah,
watching the money come in.
yeah,
I think there's actually looking at the data, tracking people's behavior, just using tools that is really accessible. I think a lot of times we talk about the real big business stuff, but this is stuff we can all do now. And I think while students are at uni, often they can set up their own business, they can experiment, you know building web applications, building I've got one student, for example, who's a great example. She's really interested in drone photography, and she has gone and got herself certified, and so she's content creating for social, but she's specializing in drone footage. And I think it's really cool that you're able to find your own niches if you understand how to learn stuff.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it really is helpful. So it helps me with the actual practice, but also it's the network it gives me. So it's really important for me to get students involved with the local business community, and my business is involved in with a lot of local industry.
yeah,
So that gives me another, just understanding what the business community is doing at any given point. And it's an important part of the university, actually, to be part of the business community it serves.
yeah.
So yeah, it's tremendously important to be doing, not just heading a book
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, again,
in my opinion.
yes, no. Well, you'll be very similar. We our own leadership figures down through the years. We've often really espoused with digital. It's like continuous learning. So it's
Mm.
not that you finish a course and then you don't do anything for the next 4 years.
It's never done. And you know,
It's never done.
that's one of the main reasons that getting a digital partner is important, because it's just, I mean, I know any field they're
Mm,
done, but
mm,
with digital marketing, really, you're never done. You can never just blow the dust off last year's slide deck and carry on,
yeah,
because it's just different
it's difficult.
every
Yeah,
time, and you
yeah,
have to stay on top of it.
yeah,
Um, and you know, you're always fighting a losing battle, but the main thing is, I think, to you know, keep on top of the main stuff and keep having interesting stories to tell,
mm,
and point the students in the direction of exciting material
yeah. I get
is
let them go practice themselves as well. Like get like learn from mistakes and things like that in a low risk environment. Um,
definitely.
Maybe tell us like when you like tell us a bit about how you like when did you first decide with other people in the University of Northampton to bring in an industry partner? What were the drivers for that?
Do you know, I've got a bit of a confession on this one, because I've kind of never been that bothered about the whole sort of kite marks, you know, collecting kite marks, because we have got a couple of accreditations already on my course.
Mm,
um, but just collecting the kite mark for the sake of it has never been of that much interest to me.
mm,
I tend to reason that, you know, if you're a 17-year-old, you know, you got to be excited about what you're going to study.
mm.
Not It's not so much about, you know, what association is going to accredit it. I don't
Yes.
think that's that
Yeah.
exciting for a 17-year-old who's
No.
about to start a course. But then I was actually introduced to you guys by a colleague who'd worked with you before and was raving about you. We were designing a new course, and he was suggesting getting accreditation. So I'm a converted skeptic. So
It's okay. Yeah.
because I was kind of, okay, we'll look at it. But then the real benefit, once I started looking at it, was just, well, first of all, differentiating the students. I kind of
Mm,
think I'm less interested in the recruitment part, although, you know, that is important, you know,
mm.
having something that differentiate. I mean, I kind of think we're already quite differentiated
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
but just having another badge of, you know, badge of endorsement is helpful in
Mm,
a tight recruitment market.
yeah.
But I'm actually more excited about what happens at the other end. I'm
Mm,
excited about the fact that the students who, especially now, are entering a really competitive market,
yeah.
have another piece of certification, which they didn't have to. I mean, this was the most important bit. They didn't have to separately study for,
Yes.
pay for. Um, you know, that just getting that dual accreditation was tremendously valuable.
Yeah.
It means that, you know, they've got something else on their CV, and I'm just trying to get them the edge in recruitment. It's all
Yeah.
about getting them hired into the jobs they want.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So, and have you had any sort of even in the early stages, like you mentioned connections with industry, which is really
Mm.
important in when you have digital marketing courses. Do your alumni or people who are on a course do any work for local companies?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a community, so
Mm,
we've always got alumni. I mean, our alumni go to national companies and local companies, and yeah, so they're sort of well embedded in a whole. In fact, like yesterday, for example, one of my alums, you know, advertised 2 digital marketing jobs. You know, it is really sort of quite. I mean, LinkedIn is how where all that happens, and I
hmm.
think that's why, you know, having the accreditation being so embedded in people's LinkedIn profiles these days
Yeah.
is important, because certainly once students leave, that is my main place that I would stay in touch with them.
Mm,
That's really what LinkedIn is for,
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe just tell us a bit about the journey into bringing like the accreditation project in. Was it easy to do, or were there challenges? How did you
There,
find the whole process?
yeah, I would say there were some challenges, but they were mostly on our side.
Mm,
Um, we had planned to bring this in to support one particular course,
Yeah.
and then we decided not to run that course. So we'd kind of done a whole business case related to something that actually we decided not to run. But in the meantime, I really wanted this because I was going to piggyback on that deal,
Yeah.
and then that deal wasn't happening, so I had to kind of go away and build a separate business case. I mean, as you know, as you would expect, anytime you're going to spend some money, you always have to do due diligence and all of that good stuff. So actually the only thing that was it wasn't actually hard to get it through,
Mm.
because I think we did get really good value for money, and I was able to demonstrate that. So that bit wasn't hard. I think it was mostly the admin,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
not from your side, I
Yeah.
hasten to add. I
Yep.
think we had a rep who was, bless him, incredibly kind and persistent. And the things that were much easier than I've experienced with other accreditations was the actual process by which we did the mapping, because
Yeah.
obviously it was really important that we could map our curriculum
Mm.
to your curriculum to make sure to see whether there were any gaps, or to make sure our students could indeed qualify, because that was tremendously important to us. And actually that was really straightforward to do. In fact, we were able to accredit 3 courses in the end.
Okay.
So we accredited 2 undergraduate courses and a master's.
Very good. Yeah.
So I feel like we were able to, there was a very sort of pragmatic approach.
Yeah.
And it certainly didn't feel like, it was kind of the best of both worlds, because we were getting access to a lot of new material and insight, which is actually going to be helping us do a bit of a refresh of
Yeah.
some of our own curriculum. But also, I didn't feel like we were being pushed around in terms of what we needed to have in
Yeah.
to meet your criteria. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, best of both worlds there, I
Good.
think.
No, good. I mean, I think you mentioned like taking on certifications or marks for the sake of it. So I suppose the DMI model does come with, it's very content heavy. Like there's a lot of investment into
Mm.
building content, and we're quite flexible with how universities want to use that content. As you said, it can be leveraged into updating programs. Once people do a certain level of study, they get certified. I know it's early enough days, but has there been any sort of new feedback from students? Have you seen the benefits of the dual certification already in the marketplace?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, one thing we haven't really talked about is the materials they get access to.
Yeah.
I actually marked an assignment that had some of the materials in as kind of source material within 2 weeks of enrolling the students. So they definitely jumped. Some of the
Yeah.
students jumped on the content,
Yeah.
I have to say. One of the things that I think has been quite popular with the students is the look and feel of the materials, because
Mm.
the aesthetic, if you think about what most students are engaging with most of the time, they're either engaging with sort of out and out practitioner stuff, maybe the drum or wired, the magazine type
Mm.
web content in our field, or they're engaging with academic journals, which we know, they're not a fun read often, are they?
Mm.
They're
Yeah.
dry.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the DMI content, you've paid sufficient attention to the look and feel of it, that
Yeah.
it's quite engaging to actually consume online.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite important. I think when you're teaching any of the sort of digital and marketing content, um, we have an appreciate, I'm sure everybody does, to
Mm.
be honest, but having an appreciation for the aesthetic of the thing. So
Yeah.
the content is appropriate, it's credible, looks nice.
Looks nice. Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
nice.
No, it's a very good point. Well, I mean, I suppose we want to try and fit nicely with a university which gives a campus experience and good academic lecturers with industry background like yourself, and then an online model that's a bit like a Netflix or platforms that people are used to using that look visually nice.
And I think that's important because a lot of times, when we're, because we're creating web content, all the lecturers are, as in most fields. So, but there's a real sort of mixture in terms of the sort of the look and feel quality of what most students will be experiencing. I think that's just, we're not all designers and we don't all have time to create content that looks amazing. But,
Mm.
um, when it's what you're teaching and you're trying to get them to have an appreciation for design, for the actual look of things, then you need to be showing some best practice
Yeah.
in that space, I think. So uh, fundamentally, I'm always swayed by great design. So
Yes, yeah. And around the content itself, have you had any feedback from students? Is there particular types of delivery that they like, webinars, or they like? Is there any feedback yet on that?
I think, I think different students have engaged with different types of content. I think a lot of this is down to what part of the academic year we've got them. So we had, because of one thing and another and getting, the onboarding process, it was actually sort of well into the second term that we got everybody enrolled, which meant that they're kind of really getting down to assignment writing. So
Yes,
I think the sorts of materials they have beelined for is not the sort of casual browsing. They are straight for templates, plans, those kinds of materials. But I think that's largely because of where we are in the academic year. I
yeah,
think, next year when we're starting in September with, because you can be all kind of exploring, can't you, in
yes, yeah.
September?
Cup of coffee, watching
Um,
something. Yeah,
we're not in an exploring, we're not
yeah,
in an exploring kind of space
yeah, yeah,
in March. So
yeah. Which is
I think
okay.
the other, because I think that's the thing. You need different things from it at different
Yeah.
because you would normally be searching for purpose,
Mm.
with a purpose. One of the things that I would expect is over the summer, even the students who are about to graduate, I think it's important that they got access because then it can help them on their journey out into the world.
Yes,
Um, so I'm kind of expecting that people can be more sort of, taking charge of their own learning experience
yes,
over the summer,
yeah.
and less focusing on assessment.
Yes, yes. There is a career zone as well, which seems to be
Yeah,
popular with actually everybody, professionals included. Um, how do you guys approach the career guidance side of maybe people building different types of careers in digital marketing?
we've got we do quite a lot of careers work already. So we've got dedicated modules from the second year onwards that are specifically for sort of creative industries. So
Brilliant.
we've always had embedded sort of curriculum that helps people sort of do their research, but this will certainly feed into it. So one of we're still sort of newbies at this, but one of the things we're trying to figure out is how we, as a team of academics,
Mm,
engage with the materials
mm,
because. Well, first of all, sharing around the licenses because I think we've got 5 or 6 academics have got access, but we're trying to work out how best to use, where to use it.
mm.
Um, One of the things that we need to make sure of, for example, is if we want students to use the platform to guide their something that we're doing in class, we need to make sure we haven't got anybody because we have a modular system. So occasionally you'll get a module where you might have some people that aren't actually enrolled. So part of the job is to work out where we use it so that the students all have access and so does the member of staff.
Yes.
Um, and also we don't want to be using it necessarily twice. We don't mind using something twice, but not with the same cohort,
Yeah.
so there's kind of a bit of a, we've actually got a member of staff going through and auditing the content right now
Very good.
for where, we've tasked somebody with crawling and going, okay, where does this best fit with our
Yes.
curriculum?
Yeah.
Because we have the modules we've accredited against, but that isn't the only place we see this
yeah,
You know, we don't teach digital in a silo, of
yeah.
course.
Yeah, it permeates everything. Okay, I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you mentioned. Look, it's not just about student recruitment. A lot of what we're speaking about today is
Mm,
enhancing the learning experience and the career opportunities.
yeah.
Has it helped though? Have you heard back from the student recruitment team? That has it helped
I mean,
differentiate any of the marketplace yet? Or is it too early to say?
it's too early, and indeed it would be quite hard to split out the effect of an extra badge on a website. I mean, certainly we're pleased to have got all the assets that mean
Yeah,
that we can promote it. And certainly as we go forward, it means that we can make more of a sort of statement about our digital readiness.
mm,
I mean, it's something we've always been doing. Our university we've invested quite heavily in a new campus, which is very oriented around the digital experience. Thank goodness,
mm,
it's really paid off this year.
yeah,
Um, but things like this, a lot of it is about talking about what you've got as well. I tend to get focused in on delivering the student experiences, and
yeah,
it's kind of remembering to tell the story of what you're doing is part of it. But what's good about accreditation is it's kind of proof,
mm,
because anyone can say anything, right?
mm,
Whereas if you have industry accreditation, it just adds that extra layer of confidence, I think,
yeah,
because it's a big investment these students are making.
yeah,
And if I was mum or dad, or the student for that matter, let's not assume it's mum and dad that's making the decision. But if I'm going to set off on this journey, I want to know that I have some confidence in the
yeah.
in the supplier.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Was there any we finish up with a few more questions. Was there any sort of DMI USPs, unique selling points? Like for example, did the Global Industry Advisory Champions, was that something that
I
resonated
think you've
with you or?
I think you've got some really credible business partners.
Mm,
I think those names are, ones to be proud of, and that was certainly interesting. And what I hope to do going forward is, build on those relationships that you have. And in fact, we've already started that. So our rep John put us in touch with Adobe via another of your another practitioner, another
yeah,
lecturer in another institution, and we're already working now with Adobe on our creative campus
very good. Yeah,
concepts. So
yes,
so that was a very generous and helpful kind of thing, because I kind of think it feels like there's a sort of community of people who all kind of have the same ambition for their teaching.
yeah,
And being able to make these connections and validate the quality of your work and your teaching and your materials and your contacts, it's kind of a win-win, isn't it? The
yeah,
more we do it, the more, the better we all get.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
so that was a really helpful the contact that's already happening. So now we're getting Adobe for our students as
Oh, excellent.
well
Very
as
good. Yeah,
as a standard.
yeah,
um so we're just really, and that was actually led, I had been doing, because we're always sort of trying to check what the market needs. 'Cause it's really easy to
yes,
go, okay, this is what the curriculum is, but you have to keep checking what the market's asking for, because it's definitely changed in the sort of 8 years I've been leading this program. It's
yes,
definitely changed what
yes.
people have been asking for with you guys that made that connection. So it's been super helpful.
Good, good.
So I'm
So
hoping there's some more connections like that in there.
yes, yeah. Well, it's been our experience with the industry partners, like Facebook, Google, Twitter, HubSpot. A lot of them have been very generous with their resources, and they're part of the digital industry. They like to think that there's independent certifications out there like ours. They also like to hear that universities are involved and accrediting and teaching people in these areas, and because it's building the workforce that they want in the next 5 or 10 years. So they're
That's
quite happy to
been my
share resources.
experience
Yeah,
too. Yeah, I was going to say I think that's been my experience too. Whenever I've reached out to organisations, they are almost always happy and participatory. They understand that universities help to shape it, and they, they understand why we're asking. I mean, of course we should be asking, but one of the things that's quite challenging as if you're a teacher, and
Mm,
to actually manage multiple relationships with multiple stakeholders like this, who are all the way around the world. Most of us, maybe have strong relationships with, two or three key partners, but
mm,
the idea that we can come at some of that material, because I need a bit of SEO, I need a bit of creative, I need,
yeah,
I need a bit of web design, I need a bit of app design, I need a bit of AI. There is so much that I want to cover, that it's to be able to get at least a decent proportion of that in one place via a partner is
yeah.
helpful, because you can't be all over all of those things.
No, it would, and it's a very good point, and it's something we're very cognizant of. We're trying to, give a solution to universities where you can feel you have access to 15 or 20 industry-leading brands, but do it in a controlled way through our product team, and we can pass on what we get access to. I suppose just to finish off,
Mm.
Cardi, maybe just give us a feel for, the next couple of years. What do you see as being the big areas that are, going to be important for your students in relation to digital marketing?
Well, I think the way we're moving is, increasingly the students that we have need to be all rounders. So they need to be able to have, um, they need to be able to do the strategy, do the content creation, work with big data. So it's that sort of practitioner all rounder kind of vibe that I'm trying to equip them with. So in terms of how we might use this, I think it's about um, being able to evidence skills in a range of areas, but it will also be far more tailored. I think we need to really take account of what a student's own trajectory is going to be, because I think anybody who's studying digital marketing, they might end up being a planner or a strategist, or a technician, but they might end up being a content creator, or somebody who's managing digital brands or digital communities, and those are quite different kinds of skill sets. So I think um, smorgasbord is the way forward. I need for students to be able to have a real solid core of theory, but also make of it what they will. And I think having a structured way of presenting a whole range of materials for them to navigate their way through, and acquiring the skills as they go, that I think is certainly what I envisage the course I'm leading, giving them, but also having evidence for it as well, because when you're up, it's all about what experience do you have, and some of that experience has to start at university.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And look, it's feedback from our own corporate partners. We do corporate training, and our own learning partners, who obviously are big global employers. And it's the reason why, like, there's still a huge amount of respect towards universities around the world. All employers want to see proof of learning. It doesn't matter what
Mm.
area you work in. So whether it's big proof like a master's or a degree, but also they want to see that if you've consumed content every year, that you can prove that you've taken some test, or you've got some proof of validation. So proof is a good word, I think, that you're getting across to people there.
Yeah, just having that evidence, and it's partly will be anecdotal in the experiences they've had, and we certainly, we've been focusing for years on creating standout experiences, but also, I think there's a real trend towards these little certifications. Not that this one's a little one. Didn't mean to make it sound like a little certification, but some, I'm thinking more of the
Short,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
LinkedIn. I mean, this is one of the
Short,
bigger
sharp
ones,
professionals, yeah,
obviously,
yep.
but the just sort of having done that, done that micro course off your own back, on um, I don't know, app development, or done that micro course,
Mm,
and so that you're starting to build up in the same way as historically we might have said, oh, I can use Excel and PowerPoint. I think it's, I can do SEO, I can use Google AdWords, I can use, I can do these types of digital things. because I think increasingly, you're expected to be able to do a little bit of everything,
Yeah,
I think, in a
yeah,
lot of roles that my students are going into.
yeah. Excellent. Well, look, thanks very much for your time today. You're very generous, and we'll end the interview there. Thanks a lot.